and peace to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with the approval of the minutes from the November 25th meeting. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes? No? Okay, we'll approve that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to old business. Additions, renovations. 119 Sand Dune Court.
They're looking to be adjourned.
Okay, they're requesting an adjournment. About new construction.
Before you go,
Oh, sorry.
adjourn.
I have to approve that. Okay. All in favor of adjourning 119 Sand Dune Court?
You're gonna make a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. New construction, 493 Sagaponic LLC.
I'll start.
Good morning to the board, Michael Smolenski of Council for Defendant Casa Law Group, 860 Montauk Highway, Waterville, New York. Pitching in for Carl today because he actually had just baby over the weekend. Brian Glasser's here. I know he's put together the architect, he's put together hopefully it answers most of the points that the board asked for. So Brian, you want to go through it? Yeah.
Evening, Brian Glasser. Thanks, presenting, 119 seconds on the final. OC. Just really started with the architectural changes and adjustments that we made. Adding the sheet 009. We did the, one of the comments that the board members felt, the center section, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, the front elevation, we ended up reducing the glazing in the center by 25%, which is the 4 windows on top and the 4 windows on the bottom. And you're, zooming in, I think it was like 8% on the second story and a little over 8% on the second story. 8.5% and 16.9% on the first floor, so we reduced the glazing there. When it comes to the architecture, if you want to go to sheets 013, 014 for the renderings, it was requested by the board to provide pretty much 2 renderings from the front straight on, and also this would be from the street because the property kind of has an angle to it, like a parallelogram that kind of goes back to the east. And some of the changes here that you're going to see, we removed all the elliptical ornamentation from the front entry and we replaced it with a simple front porch and square columns. Also, if you look on sheet, you can't see from it. This is 13. If you go to 14, I guess.
That's okay.
Oh, let's go to 13. And you'll just get a glimpse of the garage doors and the entrance had the elliptical garage door. We removed that and just made it square. A few other items that we adjusted with the front porch. We changed the front door to be a stained front door, square with traditional side lights. Also, the grill patterns you'll notice. I looked at the house actually just to the south of us. And we changed all the grill patterns from a 6/6 to a 6/1. And we changed all the siding and roofing along with the trim to more of a traditional natural red cedar trim and off-white casing and windows, columns, fascia lines. another item that we made adjustments to were we removed one of the brick chimneys, the current chimneys. We also replaced all the chimneys that were originally fieldstone to a brick material, which would be a Danish blend. And we looked through the historic Sagamonics historic reference guide that you had. And we also provided just a list of, 10 separate homes that have similar, architectural roof lines and finishes. When it comes to, I know it was brought up about the siding, we always try our best to give you that weathered look. This is gonna be a red cedar, left natural, similar to pretty much all these homes that you're seeing here. Same thing with the brick chimney. We originally had stone, replaced it to just a traditional brick chimney. I also know there was a little bit of concern about the parking and the grading. Steve is here, the landscape architect, to discuss that, and I also had, I put together a diagram just for the neighboring property because I know that parking was something that was a concern. And basically this diagram just showed at a glance for the board members to see how the parking 2 homes to the south of us, we actually had less square footage. So fitting in the neighborhood, just to make everyone feel comfortable, there's a double curb cut here, and square footage wise, these homes actually have more square footage and we're closer to the street. Plus we have like this house actually has a double wide garage, you can see straight to the street. Ours is fairly visible, as you can see in those renderings, which I think is why you asked for it straight on, so that you would see that the garage is not visible, front door. So that was something. Also, I just did a quick study of the width to give everyone the size of proportion. Our home is actually 3 feet narrower than the neighboring property. So if you think I know the renderings are a little deceiving. I'm hoping this makes it fit a little bit more in contact with what's going on. But the neighboring house is actually wider than our house. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Steve, where's Steve? Steve, I don't know if you want to get up and just talk quickly about we had a certain amount of cubic volume that we were, everyone is assuming, I guess, or we thought original or proposed. We did have a lot of volume worth of earth that was being removed that is no longer happening, and Steve could kind of get into the site and how it's being manipulated.
Hi, Steve Murray with Davis Design. I think mainly, we made some adjustments to the plan you're seeing today that was submitted. The main factor is that elevation at the street is elevation 22. The finished floor of the house is 28, so the 4 to 5 foot. The parking court is at 26, it's about 4 foot grade change from street to the parking court. That's where the existing grade is, so we're matching the existing grade there. The finished floor of the house got elevated by a foot since the last time we appeared before you, which helps us on the east side of the house. As the house projects into that slope a little bit, we get a little bit higher grade where you come out on the east side. We simplified the stairs that are between the house and the pool so that we require less cut there. We're trying to get back to finished grade as quickly as possible.
This area.
Yeah.
And you'll see here, this red line this is actually, there's the original grade, so the only area, if you were to zoom into this is the only area that there's being earth removed. Otherwise, you see this red line pretty much follow consistently with the entire current grade. Same thing in the back, it's just this little transition area where it's being removed, which is pretty much right here.
It's that transition up to where the existing pool house is removed now. You get to elevation 36 from the 28 as a house. So that's, we're trying to simplify as much as we can. And then when you look at the north and the south sides of the house, we have to do some grading in there. That's where we have to recontour slightly to accommodate the house and make sure the drainage is working well around the house. There's not flooding and make sure water is coming to the right direction. So in what Brian mentioned, as far as we had a driveway originally that was on the west side of the house that went down to a parking, garage. that was requiring a lot of cuts that was unnecessary of existing grade, so that got removed, that garage got removed. So the impact on the street side of the house is really negligible. Questions, I can stand by.
Okay. Right, a lot of headway from the last design and really thought through how this looks in comparison to the other homes on the register, I think.
Yeah, I still feel, so you're bringing the house close to the street, which is typical of houses of that area, historical houses. But the design itself is still pretty incongruous with a typical farmhouse in Sagamore Street into the historic area. Made a lot of headway. I still think the closer it becomes to something acceptable, the more sort of this north side roof pitch gets more glaringly just kooky. Have you thought about, I know you want to try to save, I believe it's a bathroom on the first floor? This area here?
It's a garage, yeah.
So if you did a symmetrical, where you more typically see going straight down and then almost a shed addition, like the one you recommended on Hedges for the kitchen. You know, so you see in 151 Sagamore, just sort of the additive type process, where a house of this scale wouldn't have grown at once this big, so. So if you imagine this getting cut here, this coming down, and then a real shed attachment.
One item that, one option I did think about, I've heard this in the past, is I just did a little sketch. If we were to do a sole box proportion in the front element, so that when you're looking at it from the street, instead of seeing a gable straight up and having double gable, basically you have a roof going down here. And this would come back, and then you have a little shed dormer coming off, which would be this dormer here.
So it'd be coming off this side, or you'd be.
No, you see the roof line going
So
back.
this is the street, right?
This is the street, yeah, this is the street over here, so basically, see how this is like the gable here. I'd flip the gable so it's this way, so you'd have a shed dormer coming off the front of the house. You can see a shed dormer coming down, which is gonna break the massing of this house down dramatically. It's very nice, see the mist breaks come all the way into peak. So what I could do is I did mention this, I did quick little sketches, and because it was the holidays, schedule, I was like, I can't, it's not possible, but I was thinking that it would just be, the one typical gable, and then if we broke this down where you didn't see two gables from the street. Also with this dormer, this would be on the side. I don't know if that's something that. I could pull this centered, I still think it's gonna be a large reverse, I just felt that if we break this down here. Draws. And basically, if you're on this elevation, you would have basically this roof line would be here like this, and then we'd have a roof here coming through and straight down there. This would be all roof coming all the way down to this level.
So this roof would,
This would be completely gone, this gable would be way back in here.
I understand.
and would this
I wanna
be,
see what he's.
So basically, three-dimensional.
Roof comes down this way, so
It basically makes it feel a little bit more
hydroponics like this.
farmhouse, not, it still feels a little,
So basically, it would basically
West
be,
John.
Oh, right, yeah,
it would be basically a salt box proportion.
right.
So you have the salt box proportion here, so here would be the street when you're looking through this way. You'd see maybe these three lower windows, and this would be a clean, little simple shed roof coming off.
That's.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think it'll look nice, I like it, and then obviously with this, all the sweeps would be removed, because now we're gonna be doing more of a straight line. Coming down.
I like
I like that. That's helpful. And then what is happening back here? Do we need that?
That's a shed dormer for the staircase, which is right here, this here. I could see what this height is and maybe it could get lowered a little bit, but it is, there's a landing up there. So this line, seen right there.
I mean, I know, you have a lot of space going back this way, but is there any way to kind of make it a little more diminutive from the street side and have more of the massing go back down the property instead of going out, so it looks less.
Width wise. I would hope this would start to make that, you know,
I'm
instead of
just
seeing.
wondering about this too.
That's, yeah, this area over here was, it is a program element there, to make that smaller. The one thing I will say, I mean, there's a large hit roof from this first story, so massing wise, if this, just imagine this could be a two-story
Right.
structure, that would be.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, if this like, this solid volume kind of came across, like, geez, that looks like a really massive, that's why I broke that element down pretty well. But to just get rid of it is gonna be major.
I would just put it, you know, instead of the house coming across this way, I would have it go like a massive
Down
echo.
that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the design changes.
and then
It's
that,
gonna be a design, I can't, I'm not gonna look it up. Yeah, I'm not.
we have the benefit of the land in the back,
Mhm.
and that would just make it feel more appropriate placement in along the street. It's none of the houses are really that big.
Well, that's what I was hoping that, I mean, the current house right here was. This is gonna feel smaller than the house next door, which I, for comparison, I don't think that's a good. Good situation.
Well, the house next door, it has a garage all not attached off to the back, so comparing the two isn't really.
No, it's actually, so that garage is right next door, it's not, it's disconnected, but when you look at it from the street, the garage door is like facing. You almost read it as a full massive home, which that's why I was hoping that for ours. You don't see the garage,
Brian, if I could just
Yeah.
say that too. If we look at that in section, the way that the land slopes up as you go to the east, and the further you project back, the more exacerbated that grade becomes. So it becomes, that's a challenge. You're trying to keep that finished floor low relative to the street, but with the slope, on the back side of the house, like east side of the house,
Mhm.
if you project that further
we're gonna have
back,
to take more fill out.
you have even more fill.
Right.
There's more earthwork that we require.
Even if
Right.
you move the whole house forward, the street more. To,
We're right on.
Make up for it?
Yeah, right now, we're right on the setbacks that are allowed.
oh, you are,
Yeah, right now, this, John actually, you're like 6 inches over by like that, like parking stall, and this is. These don't meet the current code.
I think we're solving for two different things. I mean, I think it's size or the perception of width,
Mhm.
but I think with Tony's suggestions, I think getting it a little bit more into the farmhouse vernacular would feel better regardless of the width. So it's like two different
Mhm.
things.
Yeah, so it's
That's-
almost build the first, like, design the first simple house and then add sort of how additions would look, you know. I think in order to save the sort of 60% of the rear or 70% of the rear yard that you guys want, it is bringing this up front, which is historical precedent for, but then it really should be reductive to the most typical houses here. There's very few opportunities to negatively or positively affect this most historical area of SAG, and you guys are on it. So I think the further you get back in the property, the more allowances you get to be able to deviate from what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, just start moving things back, our house will start coming up with that grade, so. Steve might go, maybe just, but as this comes back, it can go higher. There's a piece.
When you look at like like, here's a good example here, the house here, how it's, you can see behind, every time they needed more space, they sort of added to it.
Right.
And it has that sort of, by virtue of necessity, sort of an aesthetic, that's a prominent, that's aquaponic.
Right. I guess.
So I feel like so many of these features are great, but they're so integrated. And that's what brings it more to a, as she says, or Westchester, like sort of more of a second home kind of.
Mhm. Mhm.
You made a lot of great. Awesome.
Yeah, this was very encouraging.
Yeah. I heard you at the last hearing. I know we weren't allowed to present, but I heard what was going on. I thought we were doing the right thing with the direction we went, so. Before we started, like I said, I couldn't make these changes, which would have brought us possibly closer, but I wouldn't, it would have been impossible to do that.
All right, and this is separate, goes all the way down, or is this caught up by a flare here?
No, no, there is that intermediate flare, which,
But
that
this
might be something we take out.
this supersedes it, this structure?
No, it's still there. I don't know. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, very subtle. It's great.
But even making this a separate line going all the way down, just it's
Right, I agree.
it's a sum of the parts kind of thing.
Yeah, you want to make something feel like this is the original house going on here, and then we get an addition.
Yeah. And again, it's bizarre from an architect standpoint.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a bizarre thing to do.
the way I'm looking at it is just to sketch on here, it's like, for the most part, it's like, okay, here's your typical house, right? It's like a simple gable, and this is like the reverse gable going this way.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, here was the original house, and then maybe one, we did an addition here, and an addition there.
yeah.
I got you. But. Alright,
I think that alleviates the perception of mass too,
right,
which in this sort of,
it's gonna start breaking it down.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do with these roof lines coming down, I mean,
No, totally. This, yeah, this break here, everything is makes it much more effective that. I think it is an adjustment to this plan,
Mhm.
when 2 months ago I was worried about it was
yeah.
a bigger dive.
Also, when it comes to like these windows, maybe it's like, maybe you just have like 2 separate windows or 3 separate windows versus this was lining up the length.
Yeah.
I got you.
Can I also ask a question about the windows touching this line up here?
Yep,
Is that, in your opinion, are you feeling like that's more storage to attach them, but versus to drop them down in the center of this space?
more storage detail, just get rid of this complete and put a little window.
Get rid of this
Yeah.
jut out here?
Yeah, and just put a little. That's why
Right.
the inspiration images that we sent did have similar proportions, they did have similar proportions to these roof lines. So, and going back to the sweep, some of them had the sweep at the lower part, but if we go with more of a salt box shape, which everyone could appreciate is farmhouse traditional look, that would kind of eliminate that as a, like this little flare detail probably doesn't go with that anymore.
So this is just a design element, it doesn't serve a purpose for your.
It's just to help break down the height of the house. So you see a little bit more horizontal, that could be why you're reading it right now is actually wide,
Fair.
that's.
And integrated,
Yeah,
with an
right.
integrated element throughout the whole thing.
It would be hard for me to sell it to a client in general, like, okay, how come this is different from that? And like, we see those little kind of hokey things, but.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay. Maybe in the next meeting also, I'd love to, I know you're short on time this one, but to see the north-south.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to
Yeah,
recall.
this is so.
This was a basic to just show you the front because
Mhm.
of the direction we're
Thank you.
going,
Yep.
but now if I'm changing this elevation to make it look more like that salt box look, then you're gonna have to see all of them.
Mhm. And then when you had presented last time, a view of all the neighboring houses kind of lined up in one long panoramic, that was really helpful too, so I have and inserted in right out here, right?
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any?
Yeah.
I think y'all covered it.
One thing about the panoramic view, this is something we would go back and forth on. We're trying to put trees in to kind of make it seem real. Do you want them in or not?
I mean, not, because it's important to see how this house will look in comparison, because as you're driving by, the trees you'll be in and out of seeing the trees, right? So it isn't one
Right.
snapshot, so
Okay.
that'd be great. Big things.
Can we just, the board just discuss the length of the house again, as far as, or Brian, do you know where you are with that? 'Cause-
Yeah, I mean, they wanna make it feel like it's not as wide as it currently shown. So there is an element on the west side, south side, that if we were to kind of pull it to the back, that's an option to make it feel a little more narrow from what it currently is. I don't know if it's feasible, it's just a matter of repositioning the program spaces inside to make it work. So, I think you're just trying to eliminate that one additional, I don't know if you wanna pull up the front elevation, but it's just another piece, like, when I originally was just drawing in front of the board, this, fine. Well, I guess leave it here, fine. Basically, if we were to go with the concept that this was like, say this was the original house, and then this addition was done later, now you have another addition done to the other side, it usually makes sense from an historic, the history of a home, that this was the house, and then maybe there's only addition on one side. So this element over here is what they're naturally feeling, I think. Shouldn't, it shouldn't be multiple additions all around the house, just maybe one to the one side. Type of thing. Is that correct? Am I saying it correctly, or is that what you're feeling? Otherwise, we would just leave this volume here, but.
I mean, as long as it wouldn't feel lopsided then, because this left side comes so far forward,
Right.
that's something you'll have to take a look at. Why isn't that? Sorry to tell them about seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't think. Any other questions?
No, I just wanna make sure we're heading, I just wanna make sure we're headed in the right direction with what we're redesigned.
Okay.
I don't know where you're headed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll adjourn 493 Sagaponic to January 8th. January 7th.
So we need any new materials by the 10th.
And what's the date of the meeting?
The date of the meeting is the 27th.
Yeah, fine. Okay, that's.
And then any new materials by the 10th.
When it comes to the driveways and all that, are we comfortable now with that? Because that was like one of the hurdles we had in the beginning, I just wanna make sure.
Well, we're not really allowed to talk about the driveway, but I think,
It was just a neighbor that I was, one of the neighbors was concerned about, I just wanna make sure it wasn't like,
right, it's not our purview,
yeah.
even though it does, I feel like sort of the stall to whole feel of the house.
The board of trustees, when you go for site plan review, they have jurisdiction of that.
I'm just, what I'm getting at is like, someone did mention, put the driveway going all the way to the back. That's obviously a different direction than we're talking about now, so I didn't wanna go down this path of making these changes and then like, oh, we need a garage in the back.
I still like that idea, because then you're not gonna see the cars and blocking the view of the house.
Mhm.
But that's up to you.
That's up to, I mean, if you wanted to speak maybe to the board of trustees in advance, have you made a site plan application yet?
There's one.
There is one pending, you could try to solicit comments from them before you come back to us, that's really a judgment call.
Yeah, I think that they said they wouldn't look at it until we had a determination from this board.
Our jurisdiction is really the ground up. And driveways are at grade and thus they're not structures, so they're outside of our purview, but that's properly within site plan review for the board of trustees. So if you want to discuss that with the board of trustees, for submitting, or I'm not sure what the timing of their next meeting is. But before coming back to us, that's it's this Wednesday.
I mean, Brian, how do you generally feel with parking in front of your designs, right? I mean.
I think it's, yeah.
Or ease of the people using the space, where they're parking and where they need to enter.
Parking again would be, site plan, so if you do happen to be before the board of trustees on that, before you come back here, you can get some feedback then.
I'll quit for Wednesday.
We're also open to seeing, it's so helpful when you can do the sketches, Brian, for us, right? If you wanted to show some, more preliminary options before you blow out the whole plan. That would be really great.
I think I have what you mentioned about not having the cars in the front, maybe you could work on the driveway at the parking area, so it's off to the side, so you come up looking straight at the house and the parking off to the side. Also an option.
And then would that move the left chunk where the garage is? Not from the.
I would just leave the garage basically on the north side and we have parking on the south. And you come down the middle, so when you're looking at the house, you're seeing straight ahead and the parking would be off to the side. Typically, we put the parking where it currently would be and or to the side, from what I'm mentioning. Could do that as another option, actually.
Alright, well, we're just more talking about the structure, the garage structure. About how that feels moving forward.
Alright.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll adjourn to the January 27 meeting.
So, yep, and January 10th is one. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll make.
Happy holidays.
I'll second all if you will.
Megan, you're making the motion. Tony, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. New construction, 151 Seascape Lane.
Good morning, everyone. Lori Fontana, McDonough County right on tax representative, finance for, 151, Seascape Lane.
To sink.
Yeah, this is the fee. So if we want to go on the screen, I'll go through each elevation and the changes that were made based on the comments. So on this elevation, the east elevation, you had a concern about the light, which was 28.6, it's been reduced to 21.7 per your request. You go to the next elevation. So you want this elevation to be more in keeping with the rest of them. We reduced the more narrow windows down to just the two, one in the bathroom and one in the middle of the counter. In the kitchen and added side windows with rain screen on each side. I don't know if you can tell, the rain screen runs down here and down here. And on the next elevation, you were concerned about there was a window down here, but this window just stopped here, so I just pulled it down, so everything is now in line. So it looks more pleasing. And on the next one, the front entry asked for a entry door that was more interesting. So it's hard to tell on that entry door, that image, but it does have the horizontal slats with a side light, so everything lines up and down. And there's glass here, 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 and here, and then there's a side light. Because you asked for a more interesting front door. And you should also have the new rendering that's facing Sag Main. So now the highest light that we have is the 21.6, everything else is under 13%. So I believe that addressed all of the basic comments that you had regarding the elevations. Since we are stuck in a box. Literally and figuratively.
You've made it a very nice box.
So I really did try to make it interesting and more conducive, and the nighttime renderings actually look better on the screen than they do when you print them out. Want to go through? Yeah, thank you.
I think you did a good job softening the east view. I like the added rain screen there. I think it's really nice.
Oh, and I do have, I apologize for this, I had nothing with problems with my phone all morning. I have a letter from Andrew Lucas, the neighbor from 149 Seascape, indicating that he is in favor of the design, which you had requested that I do that. I
You can
couldn't
just
get-
make sure that we get a copy. of
I will,
whatever
as soon as I could get to someplace with better Wi-Fi.
Is that this one?
No, it's this one.
Okay.
This one.
What's his name?
Andrew Lucas.
Yeah, 149 Seascape.
Is that the one that we spent?
Yes.
2023 on? Yeah.
Yes. That's the one. That was that one. Thank you. That covers everything that you had made a request for.
And from a nighttime elevation, I think the window placement and the screens and everything really break up any sort of mass that might be offensive.
I agree.
So I don't think you're counting the windows that have the rain screen on them as part of lighting emissions, which I have an issue with. Because it's still light emissions, even though you have those vertical flats.
Right, but we are also doing the, can I look at the last thing, yes. We're also adding the sorry. I should do another one.
The tinted
Yeah, the
windows.
tinted, this one is for the second floor, which reduces everything by 30%. Okay, and the first floor is by 40%.
So the percentages you're talking about is not including that.
I don't think so, and I don't really know how we should include it, maybe divide it by half.
I think all that's what we've done.
Somehow, when you look at the square footage of the windows and the east elevation on the six, and then you look at the view from the Sag Main Street, it feels like there's a lot more glass. Maybe it just feels that way, it just seems that it's in proportion to
Okay,
the
yeah,
house
it's-
itself.
I guess we're just wondering, because you were forthcoming about a percentage, right? Did that percentage specifically include, it feels like it doesn't include the one with
Well, the percentage it didn't include the one with the rain screen, because those would have gotten cut in half, and then 30 and 40% of that would have been less, so it ended up being the ones that we we're putting the tinting on all of the windows, so it ends up coming down to basically the same numbers with the 30 and the 40%.
But it doesn't have to do with the tinting.
Right.
I mean, can you put the west side elevation?
Right, just trying to, if you're doing apples to apples in terms of,
The whole half of that house is glass. And just because it has the vertical slats on it, it doesn't,
Which would be 50% of that covering, and then the low emissions or the filtration of the glass is more of a subjective acceptance.
well, because that covers every window, right? So that kind of makes it neutral, doesn't it?
It does, but there still is emissions. It's a factor of our decision-making
Right, I'm
process.
just saying, but like if it's apples to apples, like that,
It doesn't affect the quantifying number
Right, right.
of the glass.
exactly.
But I
It's not
think
like it's blacked
yeah.
out because you say, oh, it's 30% plus another, you know.
she's not counting this at all. That whole
Yeah, I
thing
think
is
Right.
window.
we would need a
Right.
more accurate
Right.
light emissions, which would factor in the percentage of glass peering through the screens.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not comfortable with the west side elevation of the windows right now. Also, because that's a stairwell we're looking into.
Yes.
I just don't know how much that needs to be glass. So maybe we can reduce that a little bit. And if you can come back with numbers, percentages that, I mean, we have a, how should she calculate it on her drawings?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure.
I mean, I think,
Well, at least has to include what's covered with the.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I
Right.
think you gotta say that it's glass, right? And then
Right.
we can discuss in the meeting that it's shaded
Yeah.
somewhat, right?
Okay,
And
so
then just factor that in. So I
so
think
do
you
you
should
want
put in
me
the
to-
percentage of the glass, period.
all of it, or we're in between the race?
All of it.
So you want all of this?
Yeah,
All of
it's
this?
glass, right? I think then as a board, we can be more okay with it, percentage being
Okay.
high, knowing it's going to be shaded.
Okay.
Is that fair?
yeah, I think historically we have reduced it by the slat width.
We have.
Yeah,
Okay, that's my.
Okay, fine.
yeah.
Understanding.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's do that then.
So
But it's still not there, the total, so if we get the total and then we can reduce it by
Correct,
that, right? So
Mhm.
it just needs to be a little more.
Okay, no problem.
Anyone have any other design thoughts?
I do not.
Out the door.
So the door on the screen, it's all glass, but there's a shadow behind it. That's, or it's
Which door?
metal, I'm confused, the
No,
front door.
It's a wood door. Walk away, this falls off. Okay, so. This is a glass side light, this is a glass door, and this is the glass part in between there.
Right, so it is all, okay. But that's all glass, it looks dark because of something behind it.
Right, because I understand that's not finished area under there. That's breakaway construction under there.
So that's just the foyer, right? So we'd see an entry table or whatever.
No,
Is that the freeboard for?
yes, that's just,
Oh.
there's a path underneath, we
That's the
can't have,
elevator.
there's no elevator.
Oh, no, that's the FEMA.
There's no furniture in there.
Plus
That's
there's.
For
we
flood
can't-
reasons, there can't, it's.
I can't build anything there right now.
But that is where you enter.
That is where you enter and then you walk,
It's called freeboard, it just can't be furnished
this is all
space.
breakaway, you walk back this way and then you come up the steps that are coming up this way,
Oh.
okay? There's literally only going to be a pathway of stepping stones, because we can't build under there at all.
It's
So there's
necessitated
never
by
going to be
FEMA.
anybody living under there, it's simply a light to
Right.
guide their way.
No, I was just, sorry, I was just actually just trying to understand if it was a wood frame?
It's
Or if it
wood.
was wood, like, it just looked a little confusing to me, whether or not it was clear between those,
It's clear glass between those.
it's the darkness threw me off, I thought, cause it, like on the printout, it looks like it's all wood with like one
Right.
light on the top and the bottom.
There's a downlight illuminating
Right.
floor.
Right, everything's downlighted in there, and it's was difficult to get the rendering to look the sure.
And this
Yeah.
is to avoid having external staircase.
Yeah, which I can't have. Which I can't have.
Wow.
Have you thought of a catapult?
Well, I mean, it was discussed, but
And is there any exterior light fixtures?
there is, if you go to the front entry, there is one exterior light. And I believe the cut sheet was put in the first here, this, it's this. It's gonna be on the elevation, the nighttime rendering, it's downlighted, and it's matte black. If you go to, there it is. All you're gonna see is the downlighting for them to be able to find the door.
Do we have a copy of that schematic for the lights in the file?
It was sent in the first file. If not, I will send a copy to
Okay, and the color of the trim,
black,
matte or?
black, yes, matte. It's all in the samples. Reference from that.
How does anybody feel about those lines and outline of the garage? Did we didn't have an outline of the garage last time?
Well, it was so that you could see it, because it was
Right.
difficult for everybody to see.
So
This
will we
is
see
the-
this? Is this actual trim space cut out? So
It
these-
doesn't have to be,
I'm just,
you would prefer it not to be.
okay.
So this is the wood color and this is the black. And it's definitely matte.
Okay, great.
What are you gonna say,
Think
you
about
do
this.
enter, I'm confused, but are those garage doors?
That's a garage.
That's a garage door, you can park under this.
I think in the last round, this black line was here, it was more just.
Right, and people were
Didn't know
having
what it was.
trouble seeing it, so I asked the renderer
Right.
to darken
It
it.
is doors, I mean, you're gonna see that
It's
outline.
it's
Okay,
a
so
door.
Did you change the function of it? Or you
No,
just
it's
made
still,
that line
it
for
goes
us?
up, it just goes up.
So
the
we won't
normal
really
garage
see
door.
that then, that's just for us. to-
No. But nobody could really see it in the last one, so.
Thank you. Okay, all right, well, we're gonna come back, we're gonna adjourn unless anyone have any other.
No, I think it looks great.
We're gonna adjourn and hopefully you'll come back with the light emission percentages. Were there other changes to be? Not here.
No, I think that's the first path. You said maybe look for some, try to reduce the overall.
We're at on the west side, reduction, and will you add the light fixtures to the outside of the?
Sure.
Yeah.
This also comes to 27.
Yes, we're adjourned to the January 27th meeting.
New materials by the tenth, please.
Make a motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, gonna move on to the new business, demolition, 331 Sagamore Street.
I am going to recuse myself.
And Emily is a neighbor,
That's amazing.
direct neighbor.
My name is Richard Thayer, and my wife Karen is with the. And we're trying to demo that. I some pictures of the existing property on 331 Sagamore Street in Sagaponic. I've lived on the same street for 70 years. Just moved 300 feet north and built this house in 1975, 76. And she says it's time to move on to something new. And property was originally given to from my father in 1972 or 3, whatever. It was 1.1 acre. And the zoning was different back then. And then upon the subdivision of the corner of Parsons Lane, the 20-acre parcel broken up into the 4 groups of the family, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And I added onto my property where you see the first cutout on the right, which is the south property that extends from the street. And then the angles to the south, and then goes to the east and goes south and angles to the east again, and then straight back along the easterly border, up all the way down in the front. I think it's 1,700, I'm not sure what the length of the property is without looking at it. And basically, we are seeking to demo the house, and I have some drawings of the house that is proposed house, but I don't think, I'll tap you do have that. Okay, great. So that's from the street. The pool height is at, I think, elevation 32. And the house, the existing house is at elevation 33.6. We're lowering the house down to the elevation of 33.4. And basically from, that's the rear. It's the pool side. And you project to the south exposure. It shows that we're coming off the property line 6 feet. And then there's a walkway into the basement where there'll be 1 bedroom, mechanical room, bathroom, and gym. Now from this view on the left, which is on the west side, you'll see the screened-in porch. And part of that porch behind it is, which is on the left, which is on the west side. That shows the roof line for the kitchen. And if you go to the east side, that's the rear. And then there's a back door. And then the back door, that is a little entry porch or second story porch on the second floor. And the second floor has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And, you go to the north exposure, that's the north. Front entry is on the right, which is on the west. It's near the driveway that is going to be lowered down approximately to elevation 28. Where the driveway is at the elevation approximately 26. Those minimal steps there. And that's the front, which is looking to the east.
The entry is on the left into the kitchen foyer slash living space, kitchen and dining room. And the etched black is the screened porch. And that's basically it.
So the board is not considering the new, just the demo for today.
Just the demo when Pat, we were gonna try to get renderings, but today, we always like to see what it looks like. And my architect was supposed to do a lighting and a 3D plan, and that's not quite done yet.
Next time. Thank you.
I
I
just want to mention that you're the builder and.
I'm the owner of the property
Oh.
with my wife, in a revocable trust. And we're 50% owners, and I was the original builder, owner of the property in 1974.
And you design the house.
And then there's renderings of the pictures of the house before and after the front. And,
Just for some housekeeping, I know you mentioned that you were the owner of the house. Do we have the title search and the mortgage info? We have that.
There is no mortgage.
Sure.
should have a title search like this. Yeah. No mortgage, no. There was one issue with the mortgage 22 years ago, and I just found out about it. We just figured that all
Oh,
out
excellent, great.
last week.
Thank you very much. And is this in the historic district, Pat?
It is,
Okay,
but
so,
it's not a historic house.
okay, we still do have to do the EAF, correct? That was our change in the code.
No, we don't do that anymore on the demos. Or do we need it because the historic district?
If it's within the historic district,
What was
so we
that?
need to double check on that.
I didn't catch the question. What was that question about?
It's an EAF form is what he's asking.
What does that mean?
So it's an environmental assessment form. It's a form promulgated by the state. If you have an attorney or a real estate broker, they can help you generate one pretty quickly. We require those now. There was a code change in 2023. We used to require them for any demolition. Now it's just for structures in the historic district. But it's a fairly new build house. I don't foresee any real environmental impact, so you can have an attorney generate one for us and just for the file.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for the history and information, and I think
And this has to come back before the full board because it's in the historic district. No
we can't
committee
make
of two. Just so you know.
we can't approve the demolition.
John?
Actually, I retract what I said earlier. I'm looking back at the new language that we put there. Any such application for premises within the Sagaponic Historic District for a building or structure described in the inventory. So if this is not a historic structure, we do not need the EAF. So you're in the clear on that. I was just trying to do my due diligence,
I
so
don't wanna
sorry if I spooked you.
get all into that with you.
Sorry if I scared you.
No, really. Any other questions?
No, thank you. So, but Pat, we're saying that we can't.
Yes, you
approve it.
can approve.
We
it.
can, yes, okay. So because it's not a historic home, and I think unless anybody has any opposition, we'll motion to approve the demolition.
Second. Great.
Aye.
And the sketching of the presumed home, any other comments about that
I
or?
mean, I love it, I love it. I think that we're just not at liberty to talk about it because it's not officially on the.
That's good.
But you've seen what's come up today, so you probably can imagine you're pretty safe.
Yeah, I just wanna get any info I can and,
Feedback.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Exciting. After 70 years.
Yeah.
She didn't want to come up because she was afraid of me.
Wise.
Yeah.
Good luck. That one sucks.
You want me to run that one? If you don't want it, I can do it.
Okay, next on the.
Just move back.
Oh, right.
Pat, did you back in the very office?
We get Emily back on the board. Another addition renovation, Parsonage 491 LLC. 491 Parsonage. Anyone here from 491 Parsonage Lane? Hi.
Hello, yes, Dave Walker and Bruce Noggle. We're both here from the architect's office.
Okay.
Okay, I have to admit, I have not been to one of these hearings before. I'm not sure if I'm sharing my screen with you or if you guys pull up the documents yourself.
It's up to you, but I have everything if you want me to share.
How would you like?
No, I'm fine to share. That way I can navigate.
Okay.
So we are a new architect to this project. There was what I understand is a previously approved project for a pool house. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get all this up. I've been using Microsoft Teams, so I got to get used to Zoom again. Let's see. Okay, I think I got this going. Can you guys see my screen now?
No,
No, okay. How about now?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, thanks for your patience. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the original submission here. Let's see. Okay, so originally our understanding, and you guys will have to tell me because we weren't involved in the project at this point, is that a previous architect had proposed to replace a pool cabana that exists in this location today. It's about 180 square feet. And what had previously been proposed was a small powder room with a shower and then an open arbor with an expanded pool patio. The owner was looking to increase, I'm going to show you a couple of existing pictures. So here's the house today. Here's the existing pool house. The very small patio here. And they were looking to increase the size of the patio area for chairs, tables, and to add this arbor. So original proposal is this is demolished and this structure is built in its place, which looked like this. Is this ringing a bell to you guys?
Yes.
Okay. So since this had been in front of you, the homeowner had decided that they might want to revert back to having a little bit bigger pool house that had a storage room and a powder room. And the storage room would have a kitchen counter or like a bar that had a sink in it so that they could have drinks and whatnot by the pool area. And to revise the layout of this structure so that the new pool house was similar to where it is on the site today, but sort of pushed back towards the property line so that you could actually get a bigger area right next to the pool here. So what we've done is to propose to replace this 180 square foot pool house with a 200 square foot pool house, push it to the left of this image, open up this patio, and then build an arbor over that. So again, the new pool house is 200 square feet. The arbor is 296 square feet, which we understand meets the requirements in zoning. And so this has now been transformed into this. So we've kept the arbor idea. We've put a flat roof onto the structure to try and minimize its impact on the site. We are intending to match the color of the shingles on the house. The side facing the pool is going to be horizontal boards just to give it a little bit of uniqueness. And we're going to take the porcelain tile and fold it up over the facade here to just create a surround for a gas fireplace. And let me move through this a little bit. Let's see here. Not sure how to move.
Are the ceiling heights staying the same between the new plan and this one?
Yes, so just to give you an idea about that. And again, here, why don't I show you our plan as I'm trying to figure out how to move through the renderings. So this is the plan of the new pool house. You can see this large dashed line is the setback. There's a generator here that exists today. This is the small storage room with the kitchen countertop and the powder room, and then the arbor here. The height of the building is 10'7" for the actual enclosed rooms, 10'7" here, and then the top of the arbor is at 9'10". We're proposing to have a crushed gravel roof on top of this flat structure, just so that when you're on the second floor of the house and you look out onto the site, you're actually seeing something that that looks nice. And that's pretty much the building itself. There's really not much to it. It's a very simple pool house. Let me try to get through the rest of these renderings. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you in this submission because we have them all on page here. So here's an overview. I know you guys have these in front of you as well. Looking from what would be the second floor of the house. Here's another view as if you had walked from the house out to the new patio. Here's a view from the opposite side of the pool, which I had showed you in the beginning. Here's a view from what would be the master bedroom looking down onto the roof. And here's a view from the first floor deck looking out towards the pool house. So you can see we have the shingles here. I mean, the color may not look exactly like what you're seeing in the existing pictures, but the intent is that this is going to be an exact match to what's on the house today.
Okay, it looks blue, so
Right,
it's
that's
not
what I was
really-
trying to understand.
Yeah, it's not really intended to be blue. If I go back to the imagery, like we're trying to blend it. We're not trying to do anything unique here. We want it to look like this here.
May I ask a question? Do you have a rendering as I think we did before with the house and the pool house together? Like this, but inserting the pool house?
Is there
Or
any image? Sorry, go ahead, please.
do you have anything with this image or the pool house, proposed pool house and the existing house?
No, we did not draw the existing house for this project.
No, but, okay, so if you look at the existing house and then putting the rendering of the new pool house with it on an image?
If that's something you guys would require, we could discuss with the homeowner to add that, yes.
I think the reason she's asking, right, is because the pool house looks very modern in comparison to the style of the home. So we just wanted to take a look at the holistic part of the property and wondering kind of what your thought process was on those. On a very modern pool house versus, you know, what the homeowner would like. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah, I know the homeowner really was trying not to do another pitched roof, mostly because they didn't want to look out and have an imposing structure on the property. They were really hoping that this would be a subtle move. And so us matching the materiality of the arbor and the trim to the color of the house and then the siding to the house, we thought would have a nice blend to it. And because the building was so subtle, we didn't feel like it was going to be making a big architectural statement. The idea was to do the exact opposite. So if it would help you guys to see the scale of that in relation to the house, we could take a look at how to provide that.
I think it just, the image, maybe the materiality is throwing me off, because it looks like it's a different materiality, but. Can you go back to the one that was approved with the fireplace?
Sure.
Was there an image of this with the house?
Let's see. I don't believe so. No.
I think it's
Only
just
these four.
easier to tell that the material here looks the same as the house.
It does, although we found that this actually looked a lot more modern than what we thought we were doing. But
Yeah, no, and from a usage and from I like what you're doing, the image is throwing me off, it looks blue and it looks like a concrete almost to me,
right.
your image.
We're happy to prove that materiality out if that is what's concerning you. I think it's just a matter of how this got printed and but it's we're not again trying to make some kind of statement with this color.
What is the actual color paint?
I don't know. We're gonna have to do a match on that. We are not the architects for the existing house. I can't tell you exactly what it is. But if we zoom in, you can see that it's just like a sort of bluish gray stained shingle.
It seems like a sun bleached cedar kind of thing.
Yes.
And is the structural components for the trellis, is that stucco or is that just a blue, like a painted fascia?
Yeah, it's going to be all either Versatex or AZAC, and it's going to be painted the same finish as the trim that's on the house today. All the windows will be
rendering the materialities coming up.
Right, that's the only, I just think it's confusing.
okay.
Based on the approval of the pre-one, that this isn't a very strong deviation towards being more modern or anything.
No, I like it better actually, and from a usage standpoint, I understand it, yeah. I don't know, it's up to.
Did the slats close for shade?
No. It's a fixed arbor.
Because on the picture of the home, the pool house existing, I think, has one of those rollout maybe shades or no? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Right. Well, maybe we could ask you to come back to see the trim color. Or how does everybody feel?
How do you guys feel?
I'd feel comfortable voting on it, or maybe we could bring it to a committee of two based on paint colors.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay.
Is there a way to get a provision that we just have to match so that we don't need to come back in a month?
Yeah, that's
Is it
fine.
historic district?
No,
Okay, good. I know it's not a historic structure, but I'm checking the district.
Yeah, I mean, can we actually, on the map where it is a flag lot, is it, can we just for the record say, is this a flag lot? Do we see the pool house on the road?
Yeah, we can put that on the record, just articulate it now.
Dave, can you describe where this is and if you'll see the pool house from the street at all? The home?
Why don't I, you want me to pull it up on Google Maps so we can kind of take a look?
No, I usually.
I think we do. I think we do have an area like this.
And also, just so you know, if we do bring it up to a committee of two, it just means you would have to send us pre-paint colors. And we would look at it, say yes or no, and let you know. So it wouldn't necessitate another presentation or you showing up or anything.
Okay,
It's just,
sounds good.
yeah.
So
But
this is the lot here. So to your point, you have to come down here. It's kind of buried back in here.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm comfortable voting
okay, I'm comfortable voting as well.
Yeah.
I am too.
with the promise of mentioning the paint color and the trim of the house.
Yep.
But, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Yes.
I,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
you talk, you're done.
Here's it.
First chance of the morning.
Okay, next we have discussion item 453 Hedges Lane.
Good afternoon, board members. Wayne Grilling of Shea Washington, Communities for the applicant. Just as a reminder where we've been, this is an informal request to this board for your recommendations as to the redevelopment of this property. There is a structure dwelling that is on the village's historic inventory. There are several barns. The applicant plans to remove two of the existing additions on the existing house. And we're looking for your recommendations on that before, and second, we proposing to retain one of the barns, which has some historic significance, and do renovations, and then also do an addition which is connected to the existing dwelling by a conditioned tunnel. And the board has looked at alternatives and asked us to look at several more. And Brian's here, we did submit an alternative, and he's here to discuss those with you.
well, these are all the same. Okay. I think that was missing.
Good evening, Brian Glasser, representing the Valio residents. Ron is here joining us. So to do a quick run through, at the last hearing, the board members wanted us to provide them with several design layouts of the site plan that were not as consistent with our original proposal. So we tried to make some big moves by really relocating the structures in completely different locations. We still wanted to, help, the original LP drawing is our original site layout. And if you were to move to LP1, one of the board members recommended that we actually flip the barn structure that we're maintaining in the home. So the barn would be towards the west, and to the east would be the house. So this is what you're seeing here. And we, some of the things that did come up where we're maintaining two trying to create separation between the actual Greek revival and the main house. This is gonna give us, by pushing all the way off to the east, the new addition, the Greek revival could kind of sit proud of the main structure, the new addition. And we feel that by making barns to the south of that, it would allow you to feel like that was probably like an original piece of property together, and then the new house with the newer amenities would be separated to the east. Driveways are completely separated, so they would feel like separate structures, separate properties. We still try, it was important to my client. It was a discussion that was brought up as well, where to rotate the tennis court. We still felt it was an important topic for us to maintain the north-south direction versus rotating it east and west. So we maintained that on the east side of the property. And then the pool, we put that, to be serviced by the historic barn. Option LP2, we completely rotated, pushed the house to the east, but we rotated it almost 90 degrees, so it's parallel with the property line, the eastern property line. And that would minimize the width of the house, the appearance of it from the street. Still giving my client a southwestern view. The one issue here is you can see the tennis court kind of got squished in the southeast corner.
I'm sorry, can I pause you for a second, Brian? I think we set of printouts here.
No, I didn't realize that there was like.
Does everybody have, how many versions are there?
LP, LP1, LP2, those
Yeah,
three sheets.
correct.
Now you take one.
So,
I have one, and now she just gave me two, so I think I'm set.
you have 1 and 2?
I did.
Tony, you have 1 and 2?
I do.
Okay. Thank you, try Brian.
So now we're on 2.
Yeah, let me go back up a little bit. Yeah, so this one, we basically rotated the house almost 90 degrees so that it's facing towards the southwest, and putting the barn in between the Greek revival and the main house. Or the addition to the Greek revival. Obviously, there's complications here. We just want to lay this out for you, so you can kind of see how the place. Sorry, what's that?
What are the complications?
Two dwellings on the house.
Putting having the tennis court's a major one for my client. He bought, almost 3 acres to have a tennis court facing north-south, so that was one item. Also there's certain things that I would think the board members and the community wouldn't want to see: a garage in the front of the house. That's the presence of it. It just didn't feel right. Also, I felt like we were pushing these structures together, where they're kind of like intertwined and almost connected.
Yeah.
More connected than the other.
I feel depending on the view, with the barn and the main house, it's good.
Yeah. This, we were just kind of sliding the barn forward. I mean, you did mention about keeping the barn, the orientation, all those types of things. We try to maintain that because it was important, but with both options, there was a downfall to both of them. And we also, you asked for multiple options. We do have 4 other options that intertwine with this.
Mhm.
So if you said, hey, Brian, what happens if you flipped it, flipped the house or did something? We have that as an option, but it just wasn't something we really wanted to even, bless you, we didn't want to present it because it really didn't work. It didn't feel right. So, but we do have those options if you, just to kind of get your feedback. Maybe it feels a little like, if you go back to LP1, we have an option where we actually flipped the house as it stands so that the driveways are on the inside. And that's something that my client was into. It was just more about, like you said, this whole process is for this letter to say, we're okay with you keeping the barn and getting that variance.
Yeah.
So if we had to flip the house, I think the structure and the massing of what it is pretty much where it stands in this presentation. But
So you would be maybe flip, you maybe have a little more separation between the barn and the main house.
yeah, I mean, I have it here I don't want to go crazy with showing everything, but you can see here we have an option. There's 4 other options where it's like, okay, we come across, here's the garage now, so the garage.
Yeah.
See the garage over here.
Yeah,
So we just flip this.
yes, but nice to keep a garage next to this thing, it's pretty ugly.
Well, these are the things that we were weighing out, and like I said, we have 4 other options. If you said, Brian, I want to flip something else, chances are we have that layout as well.
Does LP2 contemplate a tunnel also?
So they're all it will require a tunnel.
What I noticed is that LP1 I think. Yes. Megan's suggestion, I think, and your work, I mean, gives us that feeling of the historic. Unit feeling like proud on its own, you have the barn behind it, you have this, you know, sort of arbor behind it. I think what you were able to do from a usage standpoint is now use the barn with the pool still, right, which is what you wanted, because that you had that before. I mean, quite frankly, I think it seems like, I think it's a better plan than having the pool adjacent to the, you know, tennis court. I understand why
Yeah.
that was like an activity area, but I think that this, to me, I mean, we need to have a little bit more discussion, but just on first glance, I think that LP1 is a real solution.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is the option where and we don't wanna necessarily, just like with the, you know, we want to start on a time.
Sorry, this is what?
This is, I would call it LP2, like this is LP1, A, basically flip the house, so now the garage isn't over here. So now the garage is in the center, and what I'm getting at is we had other options, just showing, see how this is the parking lot on the side. Versus. So,
Yeah,
but I think for the board, it's more about, okay, there's a certain separation here. So
I like
that's consistent.
this, that this is your, you know, behind this house, I mean, you have this, the barn and the.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
And it works with the, you know,
LP1.
LP1, yep. Let's get this
Right.
flip flop from what?
Yeah.
So you're kind of coming across, still the driveway entrance, instead of coming in here with motor equipment center, you're kind of coming across and parking here versus.
Right.
This is similar. Pretty much the same.
Right.
Those three structures, or I thought called four structures, but they were.
Whereas this one has two driveway, this would just be one, is that what you're saying? It would just be one driveway?
Yeah,
Okay.
this one just splits.
Okay. Okay,
I mean, I think if you even look at LP and LP1 side by side.
Yep.
Honestly, to me, the LP1 really feels much more gracious and organized in a
Yes.
way that is a more appealing.
it's, everything is spaced out beautifully. This,
Well, it's still farmland before,
right,
But it's usable in a, you know,
yeah,
oh no, it's,
yeah,
you see the sort of farm background, this house, the historic house has a breathing room. It's seen in context with the barn, which is,
Yeah, that was something that's important, where you're kind of looking through the driveway, seeing the Greek revival and that within that area.
again, the sky goes, yeah.
We can go see the barn with the trees.
Yeah, you're gonna be looking straight through. If you go drive by now, there's a few existing trees to the east and the west, you'll be looking straight through. And it's wide open.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas before, we did have more landscaping on the west property line, and now that's big. Because originally that was the original proposed over here. I think this, we were probably going back to, this looked a little bit more dense because we had a garage here, which we were trying to hide. So that's not, no one.
and it's 38 feet from the Greek revival to the barn, correct? Is that what it says? I can't see it.
58,
yeah.
15. Sorry. volume was 38 feet from the back, yeah, to the Greek, to the length, that's correct.
That's like here to the candy dish,
The what?
to the candy dish.
But the one thing that also to mention, Ron, is the tennis court pushed back.
Yeah.
If you can identify yourself for the record.
Yeah, I'm Michael Derrick, landscape architect. Derrick and Crawford, landscape details. In this drawing, we, you know, one of the last meetings, we talked about moving the tennis court and requiring a variance and pushing more towards the field. And that was ordered to give it the proper room and setback from the house. And not have it smushed up against the house, so that's something that we would want to apply for. It's having it be a field and no neighbors, we thought that might be a variance that would be acceptable. But I mean, the LP one, when Brian and I worked on this, we were, you know, 5 or 6 different options, catching the out and stuff, this really felt best.
It was a harmonious, yeah, everything was like harmonious.
You know, because right behind the Greek revival, you'll see that whole part of the northwest corner of the property would all be historic, right? So that when you came across it, you could see through the house and to the barn. The pool you wouldn't be able to see because down below. We're gonna have a farm, really pretty, like 16-foot farm gate to the right of the barn there. So it would feel like a field in the back. It feels properly separated
Yeah.
for what we're trying to get all the program things on.
Okay, well, I think it might be time to move this to the official agenda. Because how does the board feel about this layout and at least in terms of getting it onto the agenda with LP1?
I think it's ready.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, the only other thing I'm gonna mention, just it's easier between now and then, is the east to west massing of it. Still, you know, is blocking a bunch of this sort of open feeling that we have when we're driving and can kind of see through the barns to the far end of the field. We'll get a little bit of it through this outdoor dining terrace area. But it's very wide and blocking, as it always was.
At the same point, this approach coming west, because it's pretty massive too. LP2.
Yeah, and what it does for us is the court the wrong way. It gives us absolutely no front yard. We look directly at the metal barn.
Yeah,
And, you know, for having all this property to come up the front of your house and have.
and see Corey aluminum.
And have 35 feet. Whatever, it's very super tight.
Yeah.
Then having a garage actually right along, right on.
No, I think this preserves a lot of the elements we've been meaning to while getting some of what they want, so it can stay that way for.
I think it's a good compliment. Ranking.
Yeah, okay, well, so I'll make a motion to adjourn it to when you guys are ready to. LP1 back as, so do we now have to?
There's no formal application, what is necessary procedurally for us is to go and make an application to the zoning board.
For the move on the line.
And we just didn't want to go there if we can represent to them, or if we can send minutes, or even a letter that says, hey, we've looked at it, this is a concept, but you reserve all rights in your review, formal review, but we didn't want to go to the zoning board with, for example, the first plan.
Yeah.
When we first started, let alone those iterations, and now these alterations. Come back and with the knowledge that the 2 additions that we're removing on the house is okay, and as well as keeping the barn, which actually requires the variance, which is a GFH.
So I think everybody, Emily, is everybody comfortable with the recommending the variance for the moving of the barn? Yes. Yes.
Thanks. So council, would you prefer a letter? Would you like to transfer minutes and board? What would you
I don't think we need a letter. It's on the record.
transfer the minutes?
That's fine.
Transfer minutes is fine.
Either way, however you want to get it to the meeting.
Okay.
We really appreciate it all the time. I think it's helped us, and actually probably helped us on the backside when we come back to you, to at least know where we got a concept. That's correct.
Thank you, everybody, for flexible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holiday.
Yeah, happy holiday, thank you.
Part of your, yours are what it is.
All right, so we have a discussion on the agenda for an allowance for front porches.
Perfect thing to discuss on January 27th.
Yeah. I agree. We do that.
I don't have any further comments on the front porches. Does anyone? Further comments on the front porches?
Well, what's the next step? Didn't we discuss it and then we just sort of,
We would have to shift to the, or we would then defer to the planning board, I'm sorry, the board of trustees. They're the ones who actually do code amendments. So if you want, I could memorialize it in like a little memo to them, or we could just kind of informally communicate it to John and Rhodey.
Maybe we can have a full board
That's what I was thinking.
at one more time to
Yeah,
opine. So we'll just pause that until we have more folks on board. Okay, we'll move on to selection. Yeah, selection of committee of two for January. I'm happy to be one of the two. Anybody else have something for the selection? I mean, not yet, but sometimes they come in the middle, so.
I'll take it.
Okay, so Megan and Tony. Committee of two for January. Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second,
Second, all in favor?
aye.